I'm Daniel, 36, single dad of two wild-hearted boys who think chicken nuggets are a food group. Life hasn't exactly gone the way I pictured it. After my wife passed away 5 years ago, dating just stopped being a thing. My world became soccer practice, homework battles, and frozen pizza dinners. But last month, my sister sneakily signed me up on a dating app, and for some reason, maybe sleep deprivation, I didn't protest when I matched with someone named Erin. She had soft brown eyes in her photo, a love for dogs and bookstores, and the kind of smile you couldn't fake. We chatted. Nothing intense, just small jokes, some stories about parenting. And tonight was the night we finally met. The doorbell rang right at 7:00 p.m. I adjusted my wrinkled button-up, double-checked the microwave was off. My boys had just finished heating up leftover mac and cheese, and opened the door, and there she was, Erin. She was shorter than I imagined, wearing jeans and a cardigan, and had that same warm smile from her pictures. But just as I was about to speak, she leaned in slightly, her voice barely above a whisper. "My kids are in the car." My brain froze. Not because she had kids, I did too, but something in her voice cracked. There was a weight to those words, like she'd been holding her breath all day. "Do you want to bring them in?" I asked, stepping aside instinctively. She hesitated. I wasn't sure if that'd be okay. I nodded, already slipping on my shoes. "It's more than okay." We walked out together, and that's when I saw them. Two little figures, maybe 5 and 7, peering out from the back seat of an old Toyota. The girl clutched a stuffed elephant, and the boy's nose was pressed against the window. When she opened the door, they stepped out slowly, uncertain. "This is Daniel?" she said softly. "Remember? I told you he has boys too." They didn't say much, just nodded. Erin looked like she was bracing for something, waiting for judgment or maybe a sudden goodbye. But instead, I knelt down, smiled, and said, "Mac and cheese just went cold, but we can reheat it in minutes if you're hungry." The boy smiled first. 10 minutes later, the kids were on the carpet building towers with my sons, who instantly accepted them like they were part of the team. Erin and I sat on the couch watching. She held a mug of tea I'd made and looked both grateful and exhausted. "That whisper at the door," I said gently. "You okay?" She stared ahead, then sighed. I wasn't sure how much to say. Their dad left last winter, completely disappeared. I've been pretending I've got it under control ever since. I nodded, not to fix anything, just so she knew I heard her. "My car was all I had for a while," she added. "We stayed in it for 2 weeks before I found a friend's couch. That's why I hesitated tonight. I wasn't sure if this was even something I deserved. I felt that ache in my chest. Because I knew that feeling too. When grief swallowed me after my wife passed, I used to think I wasn't enough for anyone, that no one would want a broken man with 2 clingy boys. But now, watching our kids laugh together as if they'd known each other forever, something shifted. "You didn't need to whisper," I told her. "You could have knocked and said, 'Hey, it's the 5 of us tonight,' and I still would have said, 'Come in.'" She blinked fast, like holding back tears, then smiled. "Thank you." When it was time to leave, the kids protested. Mine begged for a sleepover. We promised a play date soon, and Erin laughed. A real, unguarded laugh this time. As she strapped her kids into the car, she turned to me and said, "You know, this wasn't really a date." I chuckled. No, it was something better. Before she drove off, her daughter rolled down the window and shouted, "Thank you for the macaroni." And in that moment something clicked. Sometimes the best things in life don't start with fireworks or perfect plans. They start with an open door and a whisper. The next morning I was making pancakes, burning them, actually, when my youngest ran in, still in dinosaur pajamas. "Dad, when are the other kids coming back? I want to show them my Lego castle." I smiled. "Not today, buddy. But maybe soon." I hadn't stopped thinking about Erin and her kids all night. The way her daughter clung to that stuffed elephant, like it was the only stable thing in her life. Or the way Erin kept scanning the room, like she was waiting for something to go wrong. I'd seen that look before in my own mirror years ago. That afternoon, I ran into Erin again, totally by accident, at the grocery store. She was in the cereal aisle looking overwhelmed, 2 kids arguing beside her about whether they could get chocolate puffs or the off-brand flakes. Our eyes met, and she let out a small laugh. "Didn't think I'd see you again this soon." I raised an eyebrow. Fate's a stalker, apparently. We ended up shopping together. I tossed in extra chicken nuggets. She handed me a box of decent coffee, calling it a dad essential. By the time we reached the checkout line, it didn't feel like a coincidence anymore. We planned a park meetup that weekend. All 4 kids ran wild while Erin and I sat on the bench, sharing stories about messy lunches, school meltdowns, and broken microwaves. She finally admitted she was applying for night shifts and couldn't afford childcare. I offered to watch the kids sometimes. She hesitated, but I saw it again, that whisper-level vulnerability. "You sure?" she asked. I nodded. "We're already a team, remember?" 3 weeks passed like a blur. I was dropping off the boys at Erin's when her son, Liam, stopped me at the door. "Can we call you Uncle Daniel?" he asked. I felt something inside me pause, then soften. "Yeah, of course you can." Erin overheard. She turned around with tears in her eyes, but this time she didn't look scared of being seen. She looked at home. One Friday night, Erin brought over lasagna. We set the table for 6. The kids sat on the floor with a movie and popcorn, while Erin and I cleaned dishes, standing side by side like we'd done it forever. "You know," she said, nudging me with her shoulder, "this is starting to feel dangerously close to a real family." I smirked. "What gave it away? The screaming kids or the bad spaghetti I tried last week?" She laughed. "Both." We stood there for a second, silent, stretching, but this time it wasn't awkward. It was full. "I was so scared to bring them that night," she said softly. "But I had no choice." "You did," I said. "You chose trust. That's the bravest thing anyone can do." She looked up at me, and in that tiny kitchen, with 2 people trying to rebuild from broken pieces, something unspoken was finally said. Not with words, but with presence, with kindness, with staying. It was a cold Thursday evening when my phone buzzed. Erin's name flashed on the screen. "Hale, I hate to ask." Her voice trembled slightly, but the car won't start. I'm outside the diner. The kids are with me. I'm on my way. I grabbed my keys without thinking. 15 minutes later, I found them huddled in the front seat, fogged up windows and a dim interior light, the only warmth they had. Erin looked embarrassed. The kids were shivering, wrapped in thin jackets. I opened the door. "Seaman, let's get you out of here." She hesitated. "Daniel, this is too much. I can't keep." "You're not a burden, Erin," I said, cutting her off gently. "You're family now." The kids were bundled up in blankets in front of the fireplace, sipping warm cocoa. My boys had found them dry socks and shared their favorite cartoons. In the kitchen, Erin stood by the counter, staring into her cup of tea. "You're too good," she whispered. "No," I replied, standing beside her. "I'm just someone who gets it." "Who's been there?" She didn't answer right away. Then she reached over and lightly touched my hand. "You made us feel like we belonged. Like we weren't just some detour in someone else's life." "You're not," I said. "You're the road." A month later, our kids were performing at a local school event. I sat in the audience, holding Erin's hand, cheering as Liam bravely recited a poem, and my youngest flubbed his line and grinned through it. After the recital, we all went for ice cream. 6 of us in a booth meant for 4. It was loud, messy, chaotic. It was perfect. That night, I walked Erin and the kids to their place. She stood at the door and looked at me. "Do you remember that night?" I whispered. "My kids are in the car." I smiled. "I remember. I was terrified you'd change your mind." I leaned closer. "That night, I didn't just meet you. I met them. And somehow, I met a part of myself I didn't know was still alive." She didn't say anything. She didn't have to. She just stepped forward and rested her head on my shoulder. No longer afraid. No longer whispering. Just home. Months passed. The seasons shifted. So did we. Erin and I started volunteering on weekends at the local community center, giving out meals, helping single parents fill out job applications, organizing toy drives. Not because we were saints. Because we knew. We knew what it felt like to be alone in the parking lot at night, wondering if anyone would care. We knew the fear in a parent's eyes when there's more month than money, and we knew how even one open door could change everything. Our kids ran through the halls of the center like they owned the place, laughing, helping, living proof that broken things can be made beautiful again. One Saturday, our backyard was packed. Families we'd met through the center, neighbors, friends, even a few strangers who just followed the smell of the grill. There was no official celebration, but it felt like one. Kids ran barefoot across the grass. Parents swapped stories over lemonade. Erin stood beside me, her hand in mine, her laughter blending into the music and joy all around us. She leaned in and whispered, not with fear this time, but with awe, Can you believe this is our life now? I smiled. It started with a whisper. Sometimes, the most extraordinary things begin in the most ordinary moments. A whispered truth, an open door, a meal shared with strangers, and a heart brave enough to trust again. Kindness isn't grand. It isn't loud. It's quiet. It's choosing to show up again and again, even when the world tells you not to. And sometimes, the smallest acts of love create ripples so wide, they build new families, new futures, new hope. We didn't just fall in love. We grew into it, with grace, with mess, with humanity, and that made it real.